My name is Donna Klein. I work for D365, the NAV people. Today we're going to review a little bit about the chart of accounts again and try to review how to do some filtering, how to look up who did posting and things, how to add a new account. So I'm going to actually go in and type in chart of account at the top right hand corner. I'm going to select chart of accounts. I have filters turned on. All I have to do, I'm going to turn them off and then turn them back on. So if you have a screen that looks like this, where it shows blue, just select the advanced filter and it will turn on a filter, and then select limited totals. In the GL side of it, limited totals where we're put filters on based on dimension, and we'll talk a little bit about that at a later time, and based on dates. So if I want to pull some data based on a certain period, if you notice I put July 1st to the 31st. When I tab off or enter off of that, it actually puts in the year, the current year I'm in. If I want to go to a prior year, I need to put that in. The filter that I put in here, the net change, is based on that filter. The balance at date is based on the filter also. If you notice, the balance here is the current balance. Whenever anything gets posted, it automatically gets updated. I can put in some filters. If I see here, these are visible columns in order. To change my columns, all I have to do is choose columns and be able to select. I can actually go in and put a filter based on that net change. And I'm going to put down that I don't want to, I want to equal, not equal to 0. So I don't want any totals that have a 0 in them. So now I have a new worksheet. I can actually, right here, my account types are posting and in totaling, and I want to actually remove the in totaling because this is actually involved in other totals that have to do with right here. This would be all the accounts above to this point. This here, if you notice, these do match, but because we put filters on them, the balance here does not. We're missing some because of I did the filter here not equal to 0, and there could be some in there. So I'm going to actually put another filter on, and I'm going to actually change that to the account type, and I want to only see posting accounts. So now I actually see only posting accounts, so I'm not having no totals. If I do a Control E, it actually takes this screen just like it looks, and it will export it to an Excel. Just doing the Control E, it opens up my window, and so I see everything in Excel. Any of our screens that we have these grids or lists, we can actually put filters in and take those out, whether it's a customer, whether it's just a chart of accounts. I'm going to clear my filters here by selecting the X. I have all my chart of accounts. I'm just going to go Control E. I open that up. I say open here. And now I have a list of all my chart of accounts that I can use any way I need to. I'm going to close that. Remember, when I go into any account, if I have a total here and I drill into it, it actually brings me up what equals to that total. I did that on this and not on this field. So if you notice, this does have February's totals. It also, because I cleared my filter, it has it, but I can come here and put a date filter here and actually put that back in just like what I had a while ago. And if you notice, that entry is disappeared because it was in February, not in July. I can clear my total. And now, because I'm going to show that advance, remember, just open up the advance to show those. Now, because I cleared the filters, it also not only did for that account, it went and pulled all records. Be careful with this because my system right now, this company does not have a lot of data, so it's able to bring out that. Another thing to remember, when we have a posting date or have any column, I can actually select at the top of that column and it will resort that whole page by ascending or descending by that field. So if it's amount, it automatically just resorts the whole page by when I select out a column. I also can have, let's say I put this on here and I have this date, I can actually put a filter to this value. Again, all I did was right click, and I'm going to actually take that filter off real quick. So I was sitting on this date, I did right click and I filtered to this value. Just like if I was sitting on this record and I say filter to this value, now it would see anything that had 3,000. So that's another way to find things. I'm going to clear the filter. And also up here is our quick filter based on our columns. If you notice, we have a list, so we can do the same thing. So we could put ranges, and we can put, if we're trying to find only documents that start with a GJN because it's a journal entry, then we could actually do GJN and put an asterisk there, and it's going to find all the entries that begin with GJN, and it doesn't matter what it ends with. The asterisk here tells it that it's like a wild card after that point. I'm going to clear it. I can clear that filter here, or as I said, I can clear it up here. Let's go in and create a new account. I'm going to actually just call this 10050A. And if you noticed here, I've got account and I've called it balance sheet, income statement. Well, now this count here, it's in the range of a balance sheet. So if we put a filter for income statement accounts, it would actually show up on that. So we need to be real careful when we do that and make sure that when we set up a new account, that we have the correct account type that it is, for it will report correctly. Again, all I can do is I can edit here. I open that up. I'm going to change that to a balance sheet. It defaulted to posting and direct posting allowed. So now I'm there. The other thing, how we get these to indent is it knows based on these beginning balance, the beginning totals, posting, ending totals, but also we can select this button up here. It actually goes and looks at our totals and makes sure that every time we have a beginning total, we have an ending and everything's in sync. When I select this, it actually brings that in alignment, all the counts, and indents it based on their type. So I have my beginning totals, they're all lined up and they're bolded. All the posting are not bolded, but they're lined up also. And now my ending totals are out over to the left also. Again, we just indent it and we take care of that. I can go and delete this account. I'm just going to open it up. Again, I'm going to do edit. I'm going to select delete and delete that count, and now it's gone. One thing I want you to see, if I opened up this account here and this account card, I'm just going to edit, and I tried to delete this, it's got a balance in it. So we will get an error that says, first is one to warn us, do we want to delete it? But then it tells us we can't because it's got a zero balance. So remember about that we can't delete anything that has a balance. So be careful with that anyway, because once you delete it, you can add it back if it's blank and there hasn't been any ledger entries, but you want to make sure that you don't delete anything that's got any history to it and not be able to pull those data. Again, as I said, we can change back. We can change these in order. We can do them alphanumeric. The count type right here, it's a balance sheet. And if we go down all the way to where the income statement starts, you can see here from there down there should be income statement. Also, when we have these, I talked about this at an earlier date, we need to be careful about our accounts that are actually subsidiary accounts. And when I'm talking about that, I'm talking about the bank account. That once we get our subsidiary in balance with our general ledger, we want to turn off that we do not allow direct posting to it. And that way, when we do a bank rec, it's actually in the bank account and we use the bank code. The bank code is connected to a posting group. So we don't need to do direct posting to the account because we're going to be able to see all of the entries in the GL and in the bank rec. Hope this helped everybody, and just keep working on looking for things, how to do filtering and to move around in the system. I'm going to go over here to department. I'm going to go up underneath financial management and general ledger over here. We talked about at the bottom of here under archive, I have some areas that I can go in and see journal entries. I can actually go in and see entries that have happened. And these are the same thing that if I drilled into an account. It's just another way to put another filter on. And these are not based on necessarily the count, but based on the entry that was posted. I'm going to go back a step, back up to the GL, and I want to talk a little bit about reporting. Under here, we have a lot of reports. I want to show you one that we can run a trial balance report. When we run a trial balance report, NAV allows us to print to a printer. It allows us to print to PDF, Word, Excel, and preview most of our screens or most of our reporting. If you notice here, I'm going to select actual change, but also I'm going to put a date filter. So if I want to see this based on July 31st, as I said, I didn't have to put my slashes. It automatically put it in for me. I also can bring my trial balance to a print to an Excel, so it will actually print whatever way I do here, plus it's going to take it to an Excel. If you do multi-currency, you can actually have it print in both currencies, 2 different currencies that it will allow. I'm just going to do a preview for you can see this on the screen. As it is running, it's going to a preview, and as you see, I have my trial balance and I just said actual change, so that's what it printed there. Whenever we do a print preview, it always shows us what filters were when we printed that. It also tells us a date and timestamp of when we printed it and who was logged in at the time they printed it. Just take some time to go through these reports and look at them, the different ways that you might want to slice them and dice them. We're going to talk about doing a little bit on the general ledger budget. There is a way when we go in to do budgets, we can actually create a brand new one. So I'm going to create new, and I'm just going to call this 2020. And I'm just going to actually, I'm not going to do it based on dimensions. We're going to talk about those later. But I'm going to go up underneath actions, and I'm going to do edit budgets. If you notice, this brought me into the screen with starting with August because my system date is in August. To be able to start at the very beginning of a year, I need to take my work date back to January 1st. So I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to say, okay. I'm going to go down to the date down here. I can just double click and it will bring it up. And I want to actually put 01/01/20. And now I'm sitting on January 1st. So now if I go to edit budget, now I can see that I have January starting my budget. Usually you're not doing a budget in the past. Usually you would be going to the future anyway, so you wouldn't have to worry about it. If you notice here, I have show lines as, and I put the GL account. I have view it by month, but I could do it by quarter even if I just wanted to see the quarters. I also can put a rounding if I want rounding. I'm going to bring this back to month, and I'm going to show you a few things with our budget here. So I'm showing here based on the period here, but it could be based on a department, which is a dimension of product line. But I'm going to go ahead and just do this budget based on the year budget. I can have as many as I want budgets. I'm doing it based on the GL account number, not the dimensions. And I'm going to actually just put in something here and show you how it pulls that data. So in January, I'm going to say we're going to have $1,000. And I'm going to say we're going to have $20,000 this month. Well, it continues to build my data here for my totals. And I can go to the next line and do the same thing. Maybe I had the same here. Nav will copy the field right above it by selecting the F8 key, and it just copies the field right above it. But I can just type it in. The other thing I'm going to show you is once I start getting this in, I can put filters down here. I've got that I only want to bring in the P&L. If I open this up, it's going to show me all accounts. But I said here that I only want account numbers from 40,000 above. And so basically the P&L is all I'm doing any filtering by. I also can put it based on a dimension for a department. Maybe I'm just doing the budget for operating. I have a feature here that up underneath action, I can export that to an Excel. When I do that, I tell it what starting date. I want to do number of periods. So I'm going to say I want to do 12 months, but I want to bring them out in 1 month increments. So let me show you how it does that. It knows the GL accounts here. It's pulling by the filter that's already there. And I'm going to say, okay, it's going to export this to an Excel, and it's going to allow me to work in the Excel to be able to do my entering and be able to bring those back in. If you notice, my Excel is blinking down here at the bottom. So I am going to open it up. So now I have my budgets in Excel. I can hand those out to the different departments. So as I fill this in, as you see, I can actually just bring those out. This is per month. I do not have my total, but you could add a total and divide it by each month if you wanted. When I do that, I'm going to save this on my desktop. I'm just going to go right to the desktop, and I'm just going to put 2020 budget, and I'm going to close that, and I'm going to import it back in, and it's going to have those new. Now, once I've started building this replace entries, if I add, it's going to add to the totals that are already there. So if I replace, because remember this was already in my report, so maybe I just want to replace it and not add to it, because if I add to it, it'd be whatever I brought in on top of what already is there. So I'm going to say okay. I'm going to find my file. I'm going to say open. It says, are you sure you want to replace it? So it warns us to make sure that we want to replace it. I say yes. It's been brought in. It uploaded 21 entries. I go in, and now I have each of these completed. Again, the best way to do is to put one entry in, export it to Excel and get your template, and then bring it back in. But as I said, I can actually go in here and look at other budgets and see where it's pulling from. I can delete a budget. I can copy a budget from a prior one. So I could start with one that was already done. And maybe I'm only doing 6 months in it because we only have 6 months left of the year that I could pull in. So use this as you need to. We will talk a little bit further. As I said, when we get into dimensions, you can start tracking them by dimension. So when we've got our sales team, maybe it's based on the sales, maybe it's based on the departments. I want to see all the operating to get the cost of goods sold in. We can slice and dice this any way we want. When I say, okay, I can see these here. If I want to, I can budget by those dimensions and I can tell it what dimension I want to budget it. Right now, I'm not going to do that, but I'm going to go back to the general journal over here and I'm going to go back to that trial balance we looked at. And now I can do a comparison of change and I can actually see this is actual balance of the accounts. We can see the percentage of variance and everything. So there's a lot of ways we can do these reports. So just work with them. The one right above that is my budget. So this is another way that I can print what budget am I. I can tell it what time period I want. I want to start with January and what budget I want would be the 2020. And now I can preview that and then a report. Remember when I'm through doing my budget, I had changed my work date to January 1st, so I need to make sure I turned it back. So I didn't put a filter on. Now I'll show you that again. So if I go down to my revenue, now I can see my budget. Again, all I did was go to budget. I selected, put my filters. What filter do I want to see? If I only want to see the 2020, which had nothing to do with the balance sheet, maybe I want this to be the account type to be only posting. I can add a filter that I only want this to be based on a budget amount. Only one's greater than 0. Just work this as you need it. And use it as you need it also. So I said greater than 0. So you noticed here, I'm only seeing the budgets that has the amounts that are greater than 0. Again, it's at the top under General Journal. It's under GL Budget. We can have as many as we need. We do edit budget to make changes. We can go under action to export it. Then we can bring it back in. And also we can go look at the GL balances to budget as we work our system. I'm going to go back to month. So now I can see my budget here. If I had my debits and credits, I would actually be able to see those and do comparisons with those for each month. I've got net change, or I can see balance at date. I'm going to go up back down. So here's my balance at date. I can go to the next period. If you notice here, I did have something in asset, but now because I went to the next period, I'm actually seeing the second month, which had 20,000 and 1,000 in the January and 20,000 second. So I'm seeing the balance. So I can go previous month, next month. I can actually do a find and find amount. Also, I can see my percentages compared to what the work that has been done. I hope this helps y'all. Please get in the system, use it, and try to build some budgets. As I said, don't be afraid. We can wipe them out, export them to GL, go in and look at them here. Look at our entries, be able to put filters on and be able to do some reporting. I also can drill into them. As I said, we can select here. We can go to General Ledger entries here. I open this up. This is based on this account. I'm off. Now I have all my entries. Just get used to putting filters and finding out how to find entries and who actually posted them. Remember here, I can see who posted. If you do not see that, choose columns, bring in that user ID, and that way you can see these, put them in the order you need them in. You can go up or down. So if I don't want the user, I want it at the bottom, all I do is select it and go down. And now my screen, I say okay. And now my screen opens up and my user's at the end. Hope this helped y'all. Please just get in the system and work and try to review some of this, and hopefully this will help you going forward. Thanks a lot and have a good day.